All right, get ready to dive deep into the world of civil engineering, because today we're all about helping you nail that job interview.
Sounds good.
We've got some awesome resources to help us out, a career guide, an interview guide full of real-world questions, and of course we'll be talking about how RoleCatcher's AI can give you an edge.
A lot of people think civil engineering is just about bridges and roads, but it's way more diverse than that.
Yeah, for sure. So let's break it down for our listeners. What exactly does a civil engineer do day to day?
Well, you could be working on transportation systems that keep cities flowing, designing earthquake-resistant buildings that touch the sky, or even restoring natural habitats. It's really about creating the infrastructure that makes modern life possible.
So it's not just about the technical stuff, it's also about understanding people's needs and protecting the environment. That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
The career guide mentions some key skills you need to be successful in this field. What really jumps out at you?
One that might surprise people is reading comprehension. Yeah, civil engineers have to go through complex documents like project proposals or environmental impact reports. It's not just about understanding the words, it's about pulling out the crucial information and making connections.
So you're like a detective, piecing together clues to build something incredible.
Exactly.
Okay, what about math skills?
Mhm.
I know a lot of people get intimidated by that side of engineering.
Math is definitely essential, but it's not about memorizing formulas. It's about applying mathematical principles to solve real problems.
So like, how would you use math in a real project?
Let's say you're designing a bridge. You have to use math to calculate the load capacity, make sure it can handle the weight of traffic and all those environmental forces. It's about making sure your designs are both innovative and safe.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not just equations on a whiteboard. It's about using math to make sure that bridge doesn't collapse.
Right. Safety first.
What other skills should our listener be ready to talk about in their interview?
Active learning is a big one. Civil engineering is always evolving, with new technologies and materials popping up all the time. You have to be curious, adaptable, and always hungry for new knowledge.
So even the pros are always learning. I love that.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to the heart of this deep dive, those interview questions. We're going to unpack each one, figure out what the interviewer is really trying to find out, and even brainstorm some potential follow-up questions to help you think on your feet. Ready to tackle the first one?
Definitely. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Can you tell us about your experience with project management in the civil engineering field? What's the strategy here?
They want to see that you can take a project from the initial idea all the way to the finish line, manage resources well, and handle those curveballs that always seem to pop up.
So don't just list off projects, right?
Right. Instead, tell a story about a specific challenge you overcame, really highlighting your problem-solving skills and your ability to adapt.
So it's about showcasing your leadership and how you perform under pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
What kind of follow-up questions could they hit you with?
They might ask, what was the biggest risk you spotted in that project, and how did you handle it? Or maybe, how did you keep your team motivated and on track when things got tough?
So be ready to discuss the strategies and tools you've used in the past.
For sure. Be prepared.
And this is where RoleCatcher can give you a real advantage.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Its AI analyzes job descriptions to figure out exactly which project management skills you need to emphasize. It's like having a personalized cheat sheet for your interview.
Absolutely. And don't forget about practicing your answers. RoleCatcher's AI can give you feedback on your delivery, how clearly you're speaking, and even point out areas where you can make your answers stronger with specific keywords or examples.
It's like having a personal coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's move on to question number 2. This one says, how do you ensure that your civil engineering designs comply with industry standards and regulations? It seems pretty straightforward, but I'm guessing there's more to it than meets the eye.
Oh, definitely. They don't just want to know if you follow the rules. They want to know you understand the reasoning behind them.
So you need to be able to explain the why behind the rules.
Exactly. Be ready to talk about specific codes and guidelines that relate to your experience and show off your knowledge of safety protocols and ethical considerations.
So it's not enough to just say, I follow the rules.
Yeah.
You have to demonstrate that you truly understand those rules and why they're so important. What kind of follow-up questions could trip someone up here?
They might ask, can you describe a time when you had to interpret a code in a tricky situation? Or maybe, how do you stay up to date on changes in regulations? They're looking for someone who's proactive and meticulous when it comes to compliance.
All right, let's move on to question number 3. Can you describe a time when you had to overcome a difficult engineering challenge? I'm getting some, tell me about a time you've failed vibes here, but I'm sure it's a bit more nuanced than that.
You're right, it is more nuanced. It's a classic behavioral interview question. They're trying to understand your problem-solving process.
So how you analyze a situation, brainstorm solutions, make decisions when things are hectic.
Exactly. Pick an example where you faced a real obstacle and walk them through your thought process step by step.
So it's not about having a perfect record, but about learning from challenges. What kind of follow-up questions should our listener be prepared for?
Well, they might ask, what were the stakes involved in this challenge? How did your solution impact the project overall? Or even, looking back, what would you do differently next time? Be honest and show them you're always trying to improve.
Great advice. Okay, let's tackle question number 4. How do you prioritize and manage competing demands in your work as a civil engineer? This feels like it's getting at time management and organizational skills.
You got it. Civil engineers often have to juggle multiple projects and deadlines. They want to know you can handle the pressure and stay organized.
So how do you prove you're organized?
Share specific strategies you use, maybe a project management software, a color-coded calendar, or a system for prioritizing tasks.
So you have a system that helps you manage the chaos.
Exactly. The key is to show you have a method that works for you.
So it's not just about saying, I'm a hard worker. It's about proving you have a system for getting things done. What kind of follow-up questions could they ask to get a better understanding of your methods?
They might ask, describe a time when you had to reprioritize tasks because of an unexpected deadline, or a change in a project, or how do you communicate with your team and stakeholders when timelines change? They're looking for evidence that you can adapt and communicate effectively under pressure.
This is another area where RoleCatcher's AI can be a lifesaver.
Oh yeah, it can be a game changer.
By looking at your practice answers, it can highlight areas where you can improve how clearly and concisely you describe your organizational skills.
It can even suggest specific keywords or phrases that match the language used in the job description, giving you that extra advantage.
So RoleCatcher can help you speak their language.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to question number 5. Can you explain the process you use to evaluate the feasibility of a civil engineering project? This one sounds pretty high level.
It is. They want to see that you can look at a project from all angles, considering not just the technical aspects, but also the economic, environmental, and social implications.
So it's not just about whether something can be built, but whether it should be built, taking into account all those other factors.
Exactly. It's a big picture view.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask to test how well you understand this concept?
They might ask, what are the potential risks associated with this type of project, and how would you evaluate their impact on feasibility? Or maybe, how do you weigh competing priorities, like cost, sustainability, and the needs of the community? They want to see that you can think critically and make informed decisions.
Okay, question number 6. Can you describe your experience with construction management on civil engineering projects? So this is about more than just designing something on paper.
Right. Construction management is all about bringing those designs to life. They want to know you understand the practical side of the construction process, from managing budgets and timelines to coordinating with contractors and ensuring worker safety.
So even if you haven't been a dedicated construction manager, they want to see that you understand what happens after the design is done. What kind of follow-up questions could they ask to assess your experience in this area?
They might ask, describe a time when you had to resolve a conflict on a construction site. Or, how do you make sure the construction work sticks to the original design specs? They want to see that you can handle the real-world challenges that inevitably come up during construction.
This is another area where practicing your answers with RoleCatcher can be a game changer.
Totally agree.
Its AI can spot any gaps in your experience and suggest ways to reframe your answers to highlight transferable skills or relevant coursework.
Yeah, it helps you present yourself in the best possible light, even if your experience isn't a perfect match for the job description.
Okay, one last question before we wrap up this part of our deep dive. Question number 7. How do you ensure that your civil engineering designs are innovative and incorporate the latest technologies and techniques? Sounds like they're looking for someone who's on the cutting edge.
Exactly. They want to know you're not content with the status quo. Highlight your passion for learning, your awareness of emerging trends, and your willingness to embrace new technologies.
So it's about showing you're a forward thinker.
Yeah, and give specific examples of how you've incorporated innovative solutions into your past projects. Don't just list every new software or technique you've heard of. Show how you've actually used them to solve problems and create better designs.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask to really test your innovative mindset?
Hmm. They might ask, tell me about a recent technological advancement that you're excited about and how you see it impacting the field of civil engineering. Or describe a time when you had to convince others to adopt a new approach. They want to see that you're a forward thinker and a persuasive advocate for innovation.
So it's not just about having the ideas, it's about getting others on board. We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive, really focusing on those crucial interview questions. But acing an interview is about more than just having the right answers, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. There's a lot more to it. Welcome back.
So before we jump back into those interview questions, let's take a little detour and explore what a career in civil engineering actually looks like.
Okay, sounds good.
The career guide breaks down different career stages, from entry level all the way up to those senior positions.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how the responsibilities and expectations change as you gain experience.
For sure.
So let's say our listener is just starting out, maybe fresh out of college or with a couple of years of experience under their belt. What kind of roles could they be looking at?
The career guide calls this the junior civil engineer stage.
Right.
What does a typical day look like for someone at this level?
Well, they're probably working under the guidance of more seasoned engineers, helping out with design tasks, going on site visits, and putting together drawings and specifications.
So a lot of learning on the job.
Exactly. It's all about building a solid foundation and getting that practical experience.
And the guide even has an example profile of a junior civil engineer.
Oh, cool.
It talks about someone named Sarah, who has a bachelor's degree and is really good with AutoCAD.
Makes sense.
It also highlights her strong communication skills, which we know are so important in this field.
Oh, for sure. Communication is key.
Right. And her profile mentions that she's eager to learn and wants to be part of innovative projects.
That enthusiasm and willingness to learn are so important at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as a junior civil engineer, you're not stuck in the office all the time.
Oh, that's good.
Sarah's profile mentions that she loves going on site visits and seeing her designs come to life in the real world.
Yeah, that's got to be really rewarding.
It is. It's a very hands-on field.
That's awesome.
Even at the entry level, you get to be part of something tangible, something you can actually see and touch.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's fast forward a few years.
Okay.
Our listeners got some solid experience now, and they're ready for that next step. What does that look like?
The career guide calls this stage the intermediate civil engineer.
Right.
At this level, you're taking on more responsibility, leading smaller projects, and even mentoring those junior engineers coming up behind you.
So you're starting to step into more of a leadership role.
Exactly.
The example profile for this stage is someone named David, who has a master's degree and a good chunk of experience managing projects.
Okay.
It really highlights his strong analytical and problem-solving skills, which are super important for managing those more complex projects.
Definitely. You need those skills to handle the bigger projects.
Absolutely.
David's profile also mentions that he's passionate about sustainability and incorporating green building practices into his designs.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that kind of specialized knowledge and passion can really make you stand out at this stage.
So it's not just about managing projects, it's about bringing your own vision and ideas to the table.
Right. As you move up in your career, you have more opportunities to influence the design process and really make an impact on the built environment.
Okay, let's take one final leap forward.
Right.
Our listener is now a seasoned pro, ready for a leadership role. What does the senior civil engineer stage look like?
At this level, you're leading and managing large-scale, complex projects from start to finish.
Wow, the big leagues.
Yeah, you're mentoring teams of engineers, collaborating with clients and stakeholders, and often specializing in a specific area of civil engineering.
So you're really becoming an expert in your field.
Exactly.
The example profile for this stage features someone named Maria, who has over 15 years of experience and a proven track record of delivering successful projects.
Impressive.
It highlights her leadership skills, her expertise in sustainable infrastructure design, and her commitment to mentoring the next generation of engineers.
She sounds like a rock star.
Right, and her profile even mentions that she's actively involved in professional organizations and presents her work at conferences.
That kind of visibility and thought leadership is really important at the senior level.
It sounds like Maria's not just solving engineering problems anymore. She's shaping the future of the field.
Exactly. And her story shows that a career in civil engineering can be challenging, but incredibly rewarding.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears back to interview prep. We still got a bunch of questions from the interview guide to cover.
Right. Let's do it.
We want to make sure our listener is ready for anything.
Absolutely.
So question number 8. Can you discuss your experience with working on a team of engineers? This one seems to be all about collaboration and communication.
Yeah, for sure. Civil engineering projects are rarely solo efforts.
Right.
You're always working with teams of engineers, architects, contractors, all sorts of professionals to bring a vision to life.
So how do you show you're a team player?
Be ready to share specific examples of how you've contributed to successful team projects, highlighting your ability to communicate effectively, share ideas, and navigate disagreements in a constructive way.
So it's not enough to just say, I work well with others. You need to prove it with concrete examples.
Right. Show, don't tell.
Okay, what kind of follow-up questions could they ask to really dig into your teamwork skills?
They might ask. Describe a time when you had to resolve a conflict within a team. Or how do you handle working with team members who have different communication styles or work habits? They want to see that you can adapt to different personalities and find ways to collaborate effectively even when things get challenging.
So it's about being flexible and finding common ground.
Exactly.
Okay, question number 9. How do you stay up to date with the latest advancements in civil engineering? This one feels like it's getting at your commitment to continuous learning.
It is. Civil engineering is constantly evolving with new technologies, materials, and best practices emerging all the time.
So you can't just rely on what you learned in school.
Definitely not. You got to stay ahead of the curve.
Right, so how can our listeners show that they're actively engaged in professional development?
Well, I'll talk about professional organizations you belong to, journals or industry publications you read, conferences you attend, online courses you've taken.
So be specific about how you stay informed.
Exactly. Be specific. Mention recent advancements or trends that have caught your eye and how you're incorporating them into your work.
So it's about showing that you're not just passively absorbing information, but actively seeking out new knowledge and applying it to your work.
Right.
Okay, what kind of follow-up questions could they ask to gauge your commitment to staying current?
Maybe something like, what are some of the biggest challenges facing civil engineering today, and how do you see yourself contributing to solutions? Or tell me about a time when you had to learn a new skill or technology quickly to meet the demands of a project. They want to see that you're adaptable, resourceful, and ready to embrace new challenges.
This is another area where RoleCatcher's AI could be a huge asset. Its Career Compass tool can help you figure out which skills and qualifications are in high demand for specific roles.
Oh, that's useful.
Yeah, so you can tailor your learning and development efforts to stay ahead of the game.
It's all about being strategic with your professional development and making sure you're investing your time and energy in the right areas.
Okay, let's tackle question number 10. Can you discuss your experience with using computer-aided design, CAD software, in your civil engineering work? Seems pretty straightforward, but I'm guessing it's not just about listing the software programs you've used.
You're right. CAD software is essential for civil engineers.
For sure.
It's used for everything from creating detailed drawings to modeling complex structures.
So it's a must-have tool.
Absolutely. They want to see that you're not just proficient in using the software, but that you understand how to really leverage its capabilities to solve those real-world engineering problems.
So it's not just about clicking buttons, it's about using CAD to think through design challenges.
Exactly. It's about design thinking and problem solving.
What kind of examples could our listeners share to showcase their CAD skills?
Talk about specific projects where you used CAD to come up with innovative designs, maybe streamline the design process, or collaborated effectively with other team members.
So it's about telling a story that shows you can use CAD to solve problems and work well with others.
Right.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask to really test your CAD mastery?
They might ask, can you walk me through your process for creating a 3D model of a complex structure? Or how do you ensure that your CAD drawings are accurate and comply with industry standards? They want to see that you really understand the software's capabilities and limitations, and that you can use it to create designs that are both beautiful and structurally sound.
Okay, this is another area where practicing with RoleCatcher can really help you shine.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Its AI can analyze your answers and point out areas where you can improve how clearly and concisely you're describing your CAD skills.
It can even suggest specific keywords or phrases that align with the job description.
So you're speaking their language.
Exactly, giving you that extra edge.
All right, let's move on to question number 11. Can you describe a time when you had to present a technical report or proposal to a non-technical audience? This one seems to be all about communication skills, but with a bit of a twist.
Yeah, it is Civil engineers often have to communicate complex technical information to clients, stakeholders, or the public.
People who might not have an engineering background.
Right, exactly. They want to see that you can bridge that gap and make technical information understandable and engaging.
So it's not enough to just be a brilliant engineer. You need to be a great communicator who can explain those complex ideas in simple terms that anyone can grasp.
That's the key.
What kind of examples could our listeners share to show they can communicate effectively with non-technical folks?
Think about presentations you've given, reports you've written, even just casual conversations where you have to break down technical concepts for someone who wasn't an engineer.
So everyday situations where you have to simplify things.
Exactly. Focus on your approach, how you break down those complex ideas, maybe use visual aids or analogies, and check to make sure they're following along.
So it's all about tailoring your communication style to your audience and making sure your message is both clear and compelling.
Exactly.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask to really explore your communication style?
Maybe something like, describe a time when you had to adjust your communication style based on the audience's level of technical understanding. Or, how do you handle tough questions or pushback from a non-technical audience? They want to see that you're adaptable, patient, and can get your point across effectively.
Okay, question number 12. How do you handle disagreements or conflicts within a team setting? This one feels like it's all about conflict resolution skills, which are super important in any collaborative environment.
Absolutely. Civil engineering projects involve a lot of collaboration.
Right, lots of people working together.
And with collaboration often comes disagreements or conflicts.
It's bound to happen.
Yeah, they want to see that you can handle conflict professionally, respectfully, and with the goal of finding a solution that works for everyone.
So it's not about avoiding conflict altogether, it's about knowing how to manage it effectively.
Exactly.
What kind of examples could our listeners share to highlight their conflict resolution skills?
Think about times when you've had to navigate disagreements with colleagues, clients, or contractors. Highlight your ability to listen actively, understand different perspectives, and find that common ground.
So you're a peacemaker.
In a way, and if you've ever actually mediated a conflict or helped to find a compromise, definitely mention that.
That's great advice. What kind of follow-up questions could they ask to really probe your conflict resolution skills?
They might ask, describe a time when you had to stand up for your own opinion or challenge someone else's, even when it was tough. Or, how do you handle working with team members who have different communication styles or approaches to conflict? They want to see that you're assertive but diplomatic and able to handle those tricky interpersonal dynamics.
So it's about being able to navigate those personality clashes and find a way to work together effectively.
Exactly.
Okay, let's tackle question number 13. Can you discuss your experience with working on projects that had a significant environmental impact? This one seems to be about your awareness of sustainability and your ability to incorporate environmental considerations into your engineering work.
Yeah, for sure. Sustainability is becoming more and more important in civil engineering.
Absolutely.
We're all trying to create infrastructure that's functional, but also environmentally responsible.
So it's about finding that balance.
Exactly. They want to see that you understand the impact of your work on the environment and that you're committed to minimizing negative impacts and maximizing those positive ones.
So it's not just about designing something that works, it's about designing something that works in harmony with the environment.
Right.
What kind of examples could our listeners share to demonstrate their commitment to sustainable engineering practices?
Talk about projects where you had to consider environmental factors like minimizing waste, saving water, reducing carbon emissions, or protecting natural habitats.
So real-world examples of how you've put sustainability into practice.
Exactly. You could also discuss your experience with using sustainable materials, implementing green building practices, or maybe obtaining LE certification for your projects.
So it's about showing that you're not just following guidelines, but actively looking for ways to make your work more sustainable.
Right. It's about taking initiative.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask to assess how well you understand sustainability?
They might ask, describe a time when you had to balance environmental concerns with other project constraints like budget or timeline. Or what are some of the emerging trends in sustainable engineering that you're excited about? They want to see that you're knowledgeable, passionate, and proactive when it comes to sustainability.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive. We've explored career paths, talked about those crucial interview questions, and highlighted how RoleCatcher can help you tailor your application and practice your answers.
Yeah, we've made some good progress. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're in the home stretch now of our civil engineering interview prep.
We've covered a ton of ground already. Skills, career paths, tackled a bunch of those tough interview questions.
We've hit a lot, yeah.
Now it's time for those extra things, the things that can really make you stand out.
Right, those little extras. One thing that can make a big difference is certifications, even in a field as technical as civil engineering.
Okay, the career guide mentions a few, like the professional engineer license, the PE.
Yeah,
For a listener who might not know about this, can you explain what it is and why it's so valuable?
sure. Think of the PE license as a stamp of approval from other engineers, a way of saying you've reached a high level of skill and ethical standards.
So it's like a badge of honor.
Yeah, you could say that. And it lets you officially approve engineering plans,
Okay.
which is a big deal for a lot of senior level roles.
So it can open doors to bigger and better projects.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. Clients and employers want to know their projects are in good hands, right?
Exactly. They want someone who meets the highest standards. To get your PE license, you have to pass some tough exams and have several years of experience working under a licensed engineer.
So it's a commitment, but it sounds like the rewards are worth it.
Definitely.
The career guide also talks about NEE certification. What's that all about?
EED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. It's a globally recognized certification for sustainable building, showing you're dedicated to designing and building things that are good for the environment.
So if you're passionate about sustainability, this is a good way to show it.
For sure. It lets you specialize in a growing area of civil engineering. And as sustainability becomes more and more important, having ED on your resume gives you a real edge.
Absolutely. Sets you apart. The career guide even has a list of other certifications for civil engineers.
Oh, nice.
So it's easy to see what's out there and plan your career development.
It's good to have a roadmap.
Now let's talk about moving up in your career. We've touched on the different stages, but what are some proactive things our listener can do to climb that ladder?
One of the best things you can do is build a strong portfolio.
A portfolio.
Yeah. Document your projects, highlight what you contributed, and showcase the skills you've picked up. You can start doing this early on, even if you're just working on small tasks or assisting senior engineers.
So it's about keeping track of your accomplishments.
Right. And don't underestimate networking.
Networking.
Yeah. Go to industry events, join professional organizations, connect with people on LinkedIn. It's a great way to meet people, learn from them, and find out about new opportunities.
Makes sense. And RoleCatcher can be a great tool for networking too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You can connect with other professionals, research companies, even get noticed by recruiters who are looking for talent.
It's a great resource.
All right, let's wrap up our interview prep with a few more questions. These are the kind that really test your critical thinking skills.
Okay, bring it on.
Be ready to think on your feet. Here's the first one. If you had to design a new bridge, what are the key factors you'd consider? Think about this carefully. They don't just want technical knowledge. They want to see how you approach tough problems.
Right, they're looking for that thought process.
So where would our listener even start with a question like that?
We'll start by outlining the things that affect bridge design, like where it's going to be built, how much traffic it needs to handle, the environmental conditions, the budget, even how it's going to look. Talk about safety, sustainability, community needs, all the big picture stuff.
And then dive into the technical details.
Exactly. What kind of bridge structure, the materials you'd use, the foundation, the safety features, and don't be afraid to get creative. Show them you can come up with fresh solutions.
They want to see you can think beyond the textbook.
Absolutely.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask?
They might ask, what challenges do you see with this project and how would you solve them? Or how would you make sure your design is both beautiful and strong? Be ready to explain your choices.
So you have to be able to back up your ideas.
Definitely.
All right, next question. Can you describe a time when a project went over budget or fell behind schedule? How did you handle it? This one feels like a test of how you deal with pressure.
Yeah, it happens. Projects hit snags. They want to see that you can stay calm, take responsibility, and find solutions. Pick a specific example where you helped fix a delay or budget problem. Explain what caused it, what you did to minimize the damage, and what you learned.
So show them you can learn from your mistakes.
Exactly.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask?
Maybe. What were the consequences of the project going over budget or behind schedule, and how did you manage them? Or how did this change how you manage projects now? They want to see that you're proactive, not just reacting to problems.
Okay, last question. What are your long-term career goals in civil engineering? This one's all about your ambition, where you see yourself in the future.
This is your chance to shine. Show them you're passionate about civil engineering, not just looking for a job. Think about your dream role, the projects you want to work on, the skills you want to learn, the impact you want to make.
Paint a picture of your future.
Be specific. Don't just say, I want to be a successful engineer. Talk about specializing in a certain area, leading a big project, doing groundbreaking research, even starting your own company.
Show them you've got big plans. And don't forget, RoleCatcher can help you polish your answers,
It's a great tool.
highlighting the skills and keywords that will grab the hiring manager's attention. Well, we've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive. We've gone from the daily work of a civil engineer to those tricky interview questions. Remember, with good preparation, a little practice, and the power of RoleCatcher's AI tools, you'll be well on your way to acing that interview and starting a successful career in this exciting field.
Best of luck out there.